So just the other day, I was out for coffee with some friends, and my friend said, I can't paint. I don't have any talent, never did. And I looked at her and said, as I say to many people, you do not need to have talent. All you need is to learn a few things, and I can get you to paint. And you will actually walk out of the studio with a pretty decent painting. It may not be a masterpiece, but really, honestly, how many of us long-term artists are out there, painting masterpieces? There's a few, but not many. So let's get that masterpiece thing out of our heads. It's unimportant. It's really unimportant. What is important is to understand that you are a creative being, that you are capable of painting and creating things that you love and giving your creativity, that creative muse, the space to move in and flow and express yourself out on paper or on canvas, whatever it is that you love to do. So let's talk about that. Number one, there are 5 things to learn. 5, just 5. If you can learn these 5 things, you will create pretty decent paintings. From a pretty decent painting, you can then move on to create really good paintings. And then from a really good paintings, who knows where you can go? Masterpieces, absolutely. They're at your fingertips. But before you actually can get to any kind of decent painting, you need to know what you're doing. Like I use this example all the time. Let's say you want to build a house. If you build a house on sand, yeah, it might look good for a day or two, but then it's going to fall apart. Nothing's going to stand. There's no basis to it. So what do? You build a foundation. What I'm talking about is a foundation. These are the 5 basic things that you need. 5 things to get yourself started in painting. From there, you will be able to paint representational work, like a landscape, seascape, portraits, flowers, whatever. It all has the same basis. You can also paint more creative, abstract pieces, expressionistic pieces, contemporary pieces, which also has elements of this same foundation. In an abstract piece, just to clarify, you don't necessarily use the same thing. However, when you know these foundations, you can use them in your abstract work to create the effects that you want to create in a much better way, something that actually has energy to it, something that people are going to stop and look at. And yeah, I know, because I was doing a lot of abstract work before I knew these things, and there just was no rhyme or reason to it. And after I learned these 5 things, my abstract work began to take shape and come together in a much more meaningful way. So, yeah, it's kind of like math. Let's use that example as well. If you don't know basic arithmetic, subtraction, multiplication, and division, you're not going to be able to do algebra, calculus, or any other kind of more abstract mathematics. You need to have a foundation. Creativity is the same thing. So there are 5 things. Let's get to those 5 things. Number 1 is composition and design. You plan out your painting before you actually start painting it. Composition and design. You find what you want to paint. You have an idea about something that you want to paint, and you begin to work it through. You begin to put the pieces together, creating shapes. You know, if you, let's say you're painting a landscape, in the composition and design phase, you will figure out where each part of the painting is going to fit in the composition, what's going in the foreground, the midground, the background, how the shapes are working with each other, you know, not creating the same shapes over and over again, which is what I used to do all the time, and getting that down. When you have, you know, it's like the blueprint for the house. When you have a blueprint, you can look at it and go, okay, we're going to dig here, we're going to do that, it's 5 meters this way, you know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. You begin to have a blueprint for your painting. That's what that stage is. The next stage is working your value system. Values, so important in your painting, in life as well. And you know what? Maybe values are the number one make or break of your painting and of your life. So if you've got your values down and you can begin to see and understand how they work, chances are you're going to have a pretty nice little painting to look at, even if the entire painting is painted in, you know, fuchsia pink color, you know, or something like that. Doesn't matter. You can have purple apples, and if the values are right, you're going to look at it and know it's an apple. It's just a purple one. Okay? So it's not the color, it's the values that will make or break your painting. And colors is the third one. So we're talking about how to mix colors, how to use colors within the painting, because you're painting on a two-dimensional plane and you want to make it look three-dimensional. Even an abstract piece or, you know, a contemporary piece, you want to have depth to it. And how do you create the depth? How do you use colors to help create this scene? And it's quite a beautiful part of the painting process, learning how to use colors. Personally, I use limited palettes, very limited palettes, and mix my own colors. I have the warm side, yellow, red, and blue, and the cool side of yellow, red, and blue. And those 6 colors of the 3 basic primaries plus white will give you everything that you need to create any kind of painting. So I start there, and there is a lot of learning and understanding of, you know, how to tone down your colors, that you don't need to have big bright colors, and that it ultimately takes away if we're talking representational work, how to put the colors together to create depth, which colors disappear as you go into the background, things like that. The fourth thing that we want to work on are atmospheric perspective, is creating that 3D effect, plus edges. So I kind of put these two together. Creating atmospheric perspective is getting the depth of the painting going, and also how your edges are working. And edge work is a great tool to know how to use in your painting, because it will, you use it to help draw the eye here and there to the areas that you want people to go and look at, and areas that you don't want them to look at or you don't need them to pay attention to. And it's replicating how we actually see things. in real life. And it's really lovely. So, atmospheric perspective, how do you create distance on a two-dimensional plane? And how do you create form in such a way that it doesn't look like, a cookie cutout uh, that you just pasted on top of your canvas? So, creating form and depth. And then the very last thing are the details, doing the final details. And, that's a fun part. And where exactly do you create the details? How much detail do you actually want to create? How much should it be, messy? And so these are all things that we work through in the 3-month course that I provide. I can either do them privately, one-on-one, or in small groups. I do not do big groups normally, so if you have a couple of friends and you want to get together and all learn this at the same time, let me know. Get in touch with me and we will talk about time starting. I'm shooting for mid-September, around September 21st, I think would be my day for the turn of the season, and work through the next 3 months going through all these different stages. So let me know if you're interested, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment below and I will get back to you. Take care.